All right, I'm going to be drawing cartoons for this little itty bitty animated segment that I will use. It's similar to the one I've done with Anthony and Gavin using the super tip voices, and did one a while back. Just haven't gotten around to it. Done a good bit of the art for the Gavin voice discussing King Arthur and that sort of thing. So uh, got a few characters here. Morgana Le Fay, got to do her, and Arthur himself, and then Arthur and Mordred battling it out. So that's what I'm doing, and I thought I would go ahead and do it live for Nelson Miscellanea. Um, in the meantime, I redid my Wednesday comics show because that was terrible yesterday. And what are you gonna do? I probably should have went ahead and taped it anyway. So that's what I did, and probably could have done that live, but you never know how it's going to turn out. Everything worked and was fine, but I went ahead and just taped it to be safe, and I'll replace that yesterday's live stream with the taped version. So it'll be a Thursday comics video. So that's the deal. So again, apologies for messing that up. So anyway, now we'll draw Morgana here. Um, Captain Finite. No, Merlin. No, I did draw Merlin. I've already completed that. Merlin does show up in the cartoon, so don't fret. He'll be there. So here we'll have uh, the scene where she's going to seduce Arthur. uh, and just causes all kinds of problems, you know, especially her creepy son. But really, the son is like, well, considering his origins, can anyone really blame him? I mean, what a disaster this all was destined to be. And of course, used really her magic. I mean, at least I think, yeah, Excalibur, which is my favorite of the movies depicting the King Arthur story and all that. Uh, he thought she was Guinevere, So that's how you do it, pulling the same trick that his father did with her mother uh, when she was but a wee lass. And so she's had a axe to grind with Arthur ever since. So of course that doesn't really justify what she does, especially since Arthur is just the child and her half brother. It certainly doesn't justify what she does to bring him down. But well, she was ambitious, and thought that even though he does have the birthright to be king, uh, oh boy, she didn't care for those circumstances. So so she figures, hey, I know, I'll bang him and have his kid and use that kid against him and everything. Um, well, crazy things happen when you're dealing with swords and sorcery. So that was the deal. So and of course, it's all the elements of tragedy. Merlin himself uh, tries to warn him, both him and his father. And he's like, "No, this isn't a good idea. Oh, I've got to have her," that kind of thing. Same thing with Arthur and Guinevere. And it's like, well, look, um, I know you like her, but eventually she's going to really be into someone else. And he's like, oh, come on. Sure enough. Um, it's okay because she felt bad about it later and joined a convent, I guess. Uh, Stuff like that, you know. And of course, Lancelot found really bad about lancing Guinevere a lot. Not at the time, seemed to really like it a lot. But later on, he's like, oh man, I never really had anything against Arthur. I liked him, but boy, did I like Guinevere more, and that kind of thing. And so it's all the tragedy, It's like, despite supernatural warnings to the contrary, they just could not save themselves, you know, and all that stuff. So that's too bad. But what are you going to do? Well, not a whole lot. It's all done. So it all ends in bloodshed, battle, but supposedly Arthur isn't dead. He's merely asleep, waiting for the moment when he can rise again and restore Britain to its glory and all that sort of stuff. Well, um, gee, I wonder when that's supposed to happen. But anyway, such is the story. But just for the terrible beginnings. What a soap opera. I mean, none of the soap operas of the day can hold a candle to these stories. So that's the inspiration for the cartoon to be. Probably we'll send it over to Pat to use for his censored show, and then eventually it'll be at my locals. And then whenever I need a segment to take a break or something for some of these streams, I'll just play it then. I've got to get my Nailsin news clips organized, so I have plenty of those as well. Uh, but yeah, I'll get there. Um, okay, A-Dubs, is audio good? Video good? Yeah, I figured it would because this is the the Rumble version. Doesn't have the bells and whistles of EVMux, but I typically don't have to do too much extra to make damn sure it'll come through. But anyway, I appreciate the sentiment. Captain Infinity Time Travel Police says, phew. Captain Infinity Time Travel Police says, the future is like a cake. A. Thompson just got back home trying to justify renewing DP. We are on here looking at what they have. Cannot justify it. The world sucks now. Yeah, I there's not much I can tell you to sign up for DP for. The only thing that's really cool is that Peter Jackson show on the Beatles, where they took that footage from their Let It Be recordings and he restored it and fixed a lot of it, even the audio and stuff. He was able to use AI to capture certain things they're saying to one another, and you can understand and hear it now. But it's got some great moments in it, especially a cool scene where you actually see McCartney coming up with the Get Back song. And he's working on it, slowly getting there. It sounds completely different, and then eventually he gets to it, and there it is. So that it's a cool thing. It's very long, but it's worth a look. But beyond that, I mean, unless you're like a real hardcore Disney nut or something for old Disney, it's not. But I mean, you probably have those anyway. There's not. There's just not a lot there to justify a enough of the subscription. So can't really recommend it. Say Don't cancel. You'll miss out on um okay, go ahead and cancel. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, what are you gonna do, you know? A Thompson, Alien Earth is on here. Have they already started that one? Because I mean, that's part of you can watch that on Hulu. I mean, unless you're doing the bundle, then you're getting both. I guess you could do that, and then you can get HBO Max too with the three of them. But you can just, but depending, I mean, I guess the bundle is what I did. I gave up on the individually, of course. This isn't a very good pin, but the Hulu, I think, is what has Alien Earth. It's all one. Well, HBO is not part of Disney, but Hulu and uh, well, obviously DP is a part of Disney. So, so yeah, I'm going to check out the Alien Earth show. Um, hope it's better than Romulus, but I don't know. We'll see. Uh, I get enough AI from Karmic X, lol. Yeah, no kidding. Captain Infinity, are you a dream, Nelson? A dream to some, a nightmare to others? Yeah. Yeah, I suppose Merlin is still around too, you know. So supposedly he was frozen there in his secret lair. Because, see, after all his advice about, warning Arthur, women, and then what does he do? Well, he succumbs to her charms too, you know. But I mean, she was played by Helen Mirren, in her prime. It's like, who could resist her? I don't think anyone could, you know. I mean, at least Merlin wasn't related to her. So, um, but, yeah, it's the way that rolls. But Arthur's love, uh, Arthur's love. Because, I mean, the guy's, he's kind of an idiot here and there. He means well. He is ultimately a heroic man. And, he's, for the most part, is rather innocent in all of this. And uh, really the victim of the circumstances and whatnot. But well, he comes around and has to, deal with some of these problems that could prove to be a problem. Well, it does prove to be a problem, and he does storm out and face them, and it's all very sad how things turn out. But again, it's tragedy. Now, I think there's like at least two candidates of historical people who might have been the inspiration for Arthur. And I'm already blanking on the whole story. Uh, but they would not have appeared as they do in, the legend and myths because the knights and whatnot wasn't quite there yet in that era. So you're probably talking about someone who was more or less a charismatic chieftain. Um, whether or not his main soldier or knight banged his wife behind his back and that he got seduced by his witchcraft sister. You know, it's possible, I suppose. But but anyway, um, that's one of the theories, that it was inspired by that, and different iterations of it. I think it was a French author originally. I'm forgetting the whole thing. I have to delve into that, and also I need to rewatch Excalibur. It's been a while. Um, but of course, King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table has gone on to inspire so much since, just about all your medieval fantasy stories, sword and sorcery type things. Uh, Pretty much all starts with that one. And I think Merlin was kind of derivative of these guys who were, I don't guess outright shamans, but they were just these mystics, uh, who people thought were, I don't know, touched by God or the gods or what have you. And it's probably some crazy guy, but he would have sayings or that sort of thing. I can't remember if the original term was Mirrodin or something like that. And it's the inspiration for Merlin. And of course, with the context of the story, he's foreseeing events, obviously not as well as he would otherwise. He wouldn't have fallen for some of the pitfalls that happen. But he sets things in motion to determine who will be king and all that sort of stuff, and even to the point of Arthur's birth, which, as I recall, it was more of Arthur's. Arthur's father wanted this woman, tricks her into sex with him, and of course Morgan Fay has been wanting revenge on that ever since. Uh, and so, but I think he originally wanted Arthur's father to be the king he was looking for, and well, that didn't work out. So, because the problems with the guy, and so he looks to Arthur later, and keeps him protected, in his early years, and then suddenly he arrives. He's the only one who can lift the sword and all that, which proves that he is the one true king of Britain. And there you go. And that's how you're supposed to have good governance. Magic swords and in rocks and stuff. Yes. Crap, I really can't see what I'm doing here. More or less basing it on the Helen Mirren version. Probably didn't have these Victoria's Secret style dresses and stuff in those eras either. But that's all right. Besides, she's magic and shit. She can do whatever she wants. Um, okay. So that's her. Trying to think, should I even draw Arthur in the same Probably should get him a separate sheet. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. I have enough AI. I went up 8 times the. Oh, it went up 8 times the price of last year. I actually got a warning from Google about the giant price increase. Here we have Disney Plus Hotstar. It has FX and episodes of Stars shows going through it now. Really sad. Hey Thompson, I have Netflix. A bunch of movies on D Plus are on Netflix. I also have Bravia Core, which is every Sony movie since the 70s, fully remastered in 4K. Okay. Hey Thompson, The Bear is a great show. Really great actors in that. Hey Thompson, Jamie Lee Curtis is in that exactly like my mother was. Just fucking nuts. LOL. Captain Infinity says Borman's retelling of Excalibur is the GOAT. All right. So here we have Arthur. And here I'll just draw him that. Well, she got him drunk and doped up on something. Yeah. And that's how this whole thing happened. I'm going to make it a bit more cartoony. Maybe. Like he's having trouble staying awake here. There we go. And then we'll put the beard. Oh, geez, oh, I sure miss Quinny. Oh, and I said, yeah, it's me. And maybe tilt the crown. And it's kind of off to the side there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, probably do both sides like that. He doesn't quite know what's going on. And we'll have a hand like this as he's holding this cup. There we go. And no, this will not be the grill. He doesn't have it yet. They got to do that afterwards. After this terrible act, this unholy act. That again, he's rather innocent, and he didn't realize what was happening. You understand? It's afterwards. He's like, "Holy crap!" Well, now what do you do? Okay. A. Thompson, are we almost monetized yet? Nah. Captain Infinity, you and the land are one. No, yeah. That's all he had to know. That was what the Holy Grail. See, the Holy Grail is a metaphor. It's not really. I mean, they do show the cup in it and everything, but that was the deal. The truth of the mission, as the other knights all failed, uh, and went through this weird, surreal journey and whatnot. But well, the one knight who never got laid, he was the only one. So I guess pure and all that, and he managed to solve the riddle and all this sort of stuff. And there you go, Arthur. You and the land are one, and that's his whole purpose is to reign over the land, so that because well, he is the land and all that sort of stuff. And well, that gives him his mojo back after he's been sick and depressed and all that. But you can understand why. I mean, good Lord, you just found out you banged your own sister and everything. And he's like, holy crap. And now you've got this bastard kid who's, just some kid. And you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. And yet, of course, she's going to make damn sure the kid grows up hating daddy and being just a monster of a man and all that. And oh, geez, it's all so very sad. But of course, since Arthur and the land are one, he's got to stick to his duties and whatnot, and charge out there and put an end to Mordred's forces. And so, and that's how it goes, but not without a terrible, terrible prize. And Excalibur itself, gee, what becomes of that? Well, turns out there's some strange broad living in the lake. So you just throw the sword out to the lake, and her hand comes up out of it. And, I don't know, keeps it for safekeeping until, again, Arthur comes back after his nap. You know? So there it is. And that's how that worked out. One would have thought it would have turned out better, And it's like, oh, geez. It all seems unfair, But it's like, well, I just wasn't feeling so great, especially since my best friend banged my wife, I was already down in the dumps there. Because I was like really into it, it wasn't just a flash in the pan type thing. And just because they both felt bad about it, and she became a nun, and I guess he tried to be a monk or something. I don't know. He wandered around or some crap. But it's like, yeah, okay, you feel bad about it, but you really screwed my whole life here, buddy. So he just sat on the throne getting sick from all that. Then, of course, crazy sister, decided to bust her move. And then it's pretty much downhill after that. But until, what was it, Percival comes in and says, well, guess who figured out the Holy Grail? Me! And so then Arthur's like, hey, you know what we got to do? We got to put an end to these villains, And so that's what he does. Here we are. Oops. Swift -1 reminds us that the turquoise person is waving. It's got to be getting tired by now. That's a lot of waving. But that's turquoise person's problem, not yours. and it's what they like to do. So I'm not turquoise myself, so I can't really speak to it. I don't know what that's all about anyway. Again, on account of my not being turquoise, and so we'll just leave them alone, let them keep waving. I guess I don't know. I don't know what'll happen if it ever stops. Maybe that's when the world collapses. It could be that. I don't know. I just draw stuff, among other things. And now a series of eyeballs. Now, well, eyes do come in handy. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. That's why they're so very important. So don't take your eyes for granted. We're really going to have to touch this up in the Dave soap. But there we go. But King Arthur's obviously a very old story. It's been told many times and all that. But boy, I tell you, Excalibur's kind of like the one to beat. And I guess I'm kind of spoiled by it. Other people could do their own versions. And there's been a few, and they did a whole series about young Merlin and stuff. And I was like, that's okay. But I don't know. It didn't tickle my fancy. Uh, but I think it had quite a bit of success for a while, though. So, it had its following. I can't remember all of it. But Excalibur. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I'll put you there. Here we go. Here we go. Bam, 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 bam. Come on. We've got to clean you up for your ceremonies. You must reign over the court. Different officials coming in to air grievances. But you, sir, must pass judgment upon. Such is the burden of the crown. Burden of the crown. And he's like, yeah, all right, what? And they all come in. I can't believe I went to war for this. Well, you did. Okay. There we go. Okay. Probably a little too much detail. I remember this is supposed to be a silly cartoon. Now the background art, yeah, I'm gonna go lazy on that. It'll just be AI. Comes in handy for that. Like, geez Louise. But it does have that effect of it when it's some sort of painterly look background of old cartoon backgrounds. So that's what I did for the Captain Hook one, which I don't know. I mean, it's on my. I think it's on my locals. The one about Tarzan with Anthony Cumia, I did that. That one is there. But when I get enough of them, I'll play them rather frequently as little segments. If I'm doing a long stream, I gotta go take a leak or something. That's it comes in handy for that. Um, Alrighty. Captain Infinity had to go rewatch that scene with Percival. What is the secret of the Grail? So beautiful, yeah. And that's a good approach to it, because it is taking the purpose of it is like there's a meaning for it rather than, well, it's a magic cup, and if you drink from it, you live forever, and that sort of thing. That's not really the point. It was an ultimate truth and purpose that had to be pursued, and Percival's the only knight who could have achieved it, because he wasn't led astray by lust and greed and all that sort of thing. He was a true believer, and he understood Arthur's true purpose. Because Arthur and the land are one. So I guess in some ways the idea is, hey, Arthur didn't really die. He's going to come back or something like that. But ultimately it's like, well, his spirit and the land of Britain are all one and the same and that kind of thing. But it's also like a metaphorical legend or mythological tale of what was to become Britain and its identity and so on. Has its origins and such men as these and that kind of thing. So yeah, with questions like that, you got to go with some surrealism. You're talking about the power of God and so forth. Captain Infinity, I bet Percival would find the Epstein list. Well, yeah, the actual one right now, it's starting to sound like, and then look, the stuff stayed hidden for quite a while. Which one's real? What is real? How much of that's been messed with? The idea that guilty parties in positions of power would just let that sit there. That's the other problem about it. It's like Trump keeps alluding to that and comparing it to the hoaxes and frauds that were committed against him. So probably, and I would wonder if anything actual damning for anyone, uh, oops, from positions of power, and you would think it would be destroyed by now. Meanwhile, Ghislaine still alive and kicking, wanting a new deal and all that and saying, hey, look, I'll talk. So, it's all very interesting. A lot of things don't quite fit together over it. It's weird. But, yeah. But the rollout of it, this Bondi, she did tease people with it. That's a problem. I mean, Trump gets irritated with people demanding it and stuff. I'm like, listen, pal, your girl teased everybody with this. There's just no getting around that. Oh, wait. Yeah, this would be. So, And it says, hey, why can't this just go away? Because no narrative fully explains it or makes it make sense. um, can understand some frustration, but not really all. So, and it could be this mess of stuff, and it's like, how the hell do we release this? We're not, and but a lot of that, I'm like, couldn't you just say that's the problem? Yeah. Um, because it's been said quite a few times. I mean, it's certainly like with Dershowitz case and all that. And he said, yeah, there's a lot of people involved in it who really didn't participate in this stuff, and they're being lopped in with it, and that could be very damaging. But well, yeah, but you really got to explain that. I need. Where's my? There it is. Can have a time like this. Right. Of course, yeah, Morgan Le Fay. It didn't work out for her either, did it? Oh, well, that's too bad. Not really. She kind of like, I understand you being mad for what happened to Daddy all them years ago, but that doesn't really justify what she did. Especially all the incest. I mean, come on, don't do that. Hmm. Let's see. Okay, got spare. Um, I didn't know how empty was my soul until it was filled. Yeah, a lot of that happens. It's kind of like people who, you get a lung transplant or something like that. And man, you really don't know how much breathing capacity you lost until you get a new full on gust of air. Okay, let me take a look here. Oh yeah, this. Looking at scenes from the movie, he had more. Mordred had this particular strange helmet. I mean, the era of Arthur is supposed to have taken place not long after the Roman era was over. I don't know if the thinking was, at least for Excalibur, I don't know, that Mordred's helmet was based on some of the designs there. But that was the deal. And he ends up killing his magic mommy. Of course, he didn't know it was her. After Merlin got his revenge by causing her to screw up their spell that was keeping her young for all those years, and then suddenly she's this old crone. And Mordred's like, "Ew, who's this ugly woman?" Oh well. He still had a kingdom he wanted to steal from old dad. Who told him, said, "Well, you can move in here. I'll take care of you." And he was like, "No, I want the power and shit." Oh, so you're just like your mother. That yes. Oh, okay. Well, oh well. You see, that's just the type of guy Merlin was. Arthur was. He was trying. Say, look, I tried to make this work, as crazy as it all is. I was going to do my damnedest and say, hey, look, it's not your fault the way you were born. This is all your mom's fault. So God only knows what crazy crap she raised you with. But you can come here and stay at Camelot. It'll be cool. I don't know. It could probably set you up, in business and stuff. And it shouldn't be too bad for you. Mm, But, I'll treat you like my son and probably even take care of you and love you like a father should. And of course, the little bastard is like, that's the last thing I want. So he's like, oh, good Lord. Yeah, too much like your mother. So it just wasn't going to work out. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Interestingly enough, perhaps, is Zack Snyder said that, well, he certainly said that Excalibur is one of his favorite movies, and he was really thinking of it as he was doing the Justice League movie. And I guess that was his inspiration for the plot originally, to reveal that Lois Lane and Batman had had a child together. So that essentially Batman is Lancelot and Superman is Arthur. But Superman, I guess, because in Batman versus Superman, he was all disturbed at how people were perceiving him and stuff like that as a possibly a threat or something of that nature, and that's why he was in doubt about himself or whatnot, and so he wasn't so sure. But it's similar to Arthur's situation in that he loses his way, and it's the Grail that restores him. And so, of course, in Justice League, ultimately the Mother Box resurrects Superman, and off he goes, knowing that he has to defend the Earth from Steppenwolf and Darkseid's forces and all that. But eventually, for the sequel, that's what they were going to do. That while he was dead, in their mutual grief, uh, Lois and Bruce Wayne turned to each other, and then ultimately, Batman dies in the third movie at the hands of Darkseid, and Lois and Superman raise the child as their own. Superman's like, "Well, I understand you were lonely and you thought I was dead, but jeez Louise." So, had there been a sequel, they weren't going to go with that. And I mean, there's just not enough there between the two characters to have demonstrated any interest between the two. I mean, Batman had enough guilt over having suspected Superman of being the enemy to begin with, and it was taking some amount of responsibility for what happened to him in that movie. So you would think, well, that's more than enough for him to be guilt ridden concerning him. Um, and the only character for him to have had any romantic interest in would have been Wonder Woman, at least how it was set up in the movie, if anything. But that was the plan, and I wasn't really crazy about that idea. But the rest of it, I suppose, could have worked out. The second movie would have been the one to demonstrate a full-on Justice League formed if they could have had enough scenes in there, and there was supposed to be of them doing different missions and stuff like that. And then Luthor forms the Legion of Doom, trying to get the anti-life equation power for himself. Ultimately, foolishly, leaves the Earth open to attack from Darkseid himself, and then all hell breaks loose. And then eventually they have to do the time travel thing with the Flash, and there you go. They stop Superman from succumbing to the anti-life equation. And then that was it. It was already like a full-on plan. At least that. I mean, there's problems with it and stuff like that. And then you you reboot again, and that was already in that was the theory there, which is exactly what Marvel's trying to do now, uh, where they would do a Crisis on Infinite Earths type take on that once they were done with that narrative, and ideally you would have these different solo films there. You needed another Man of Steel and in between there and stuff like that, and and then it basically culminates and ends with the third Justice League movie that you would weave in between those, and then the Flash. Um, well, they were going to do the Flashpoint scenario. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. And they wanted what's his name, Negan, from Walking Dead to be Thomas Wayne Batman in this alternate universe type thing, which would have been pretty cool to have played out. Instead, they went with the gimmick of past, like having Michael Keaton show up, which theoretically they still could have done some of that, and apparently we're going to, but it's just too damn much money, and they had burned through so much and squandered their opportunities, and they couldn't afford the actors to perform all that. So you just scrap it and start over, which is what they did. And that's what happens when you screw around like that, which the studio kept, panicking over this money and that money, which is the type of profits they'd probably kill for now. So, but what are you going to do? But it stands to reason to look to old myths and old legends to craft your new ones that are based on something. At least authors based on an actual era. Okay. All right. So, Wardrobe was never going to give author a Father's Day card or nothing. Instead, they would just have this fight between their battling armies, And after all, that's what armies do. It's true. It's true. Percival, I don't know how. Okay. Captain Infinity guards, knight squires, prepare for battle. Oh, what guards? Oh, well, yeah. Well, at least he didn't say gourds. Captain Infinity, Britain really does need King Arthur to return. Nelson does it again. You sure called it tonight. Yeah, I would think so. Imagine the look on his face. 8,000. Evidently, the female teacher thing is not new. YouTube started playing videos, and I learned about Mary Kay. Well, yeah, no, Mary Kay Letourneau is like a pioneer. She easily was not the first, but it was, a big deal at the time, and everyone was so shocked and stuff. And then, especially after she had been caught and was warned to stay away from the kid, and she went back, got caught in her car at night by a police officer. I all right, that's it. No deals and stuff. So she had to do a hard time after that. Of course, pregnant with the kid's child. Yeah, but hey, what a pioneer, and it continues to this day. Um, so yeah, there's always plenty of those around. Um, I mean, it's all very disturbing and unfortunate in a lot of ways, but well, great fodder for Nailsin News. So quite the feature. And need to do one of those before the week's over, before I have to close up shop and go back to work. Um, okay, let that sit for a bit. Let's see here. Did I? Oh no, I guess I can erase some more of this. A few more lines here. Poor Merlin. And I really shouldn't have done most of it. It's supposed to be this cartoon image, so rendering this and that. Well, whatevs. I'll figure it out once it's put into the Photoshop. Oh, yes. Yes. Um, clean up King Arthur. You see, you can tell he's King Arthur because he's the one wearing the crown. That's right. Mordred wearing his Excalibur movie outfit. And, so he's getting run through by Excalibur, and at the same time, he's running dear old dad through with a lance. Yeah. Another lance betrays Arthur. Yeah. Oh, well. But I'm sure he had some good times before it was all over. Hey, come on. He's like, hey, it wasn't all bad. Yeah. Um, he was doing all right until Guinevere got lonely and bored. I started checking out Lancelot. And she was like, I wouldn't mind being lanced a lot. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did to her. A lot. And, well, then word got out. The sex tape was sent to TMZ, and how was she going to explain it? Tried to say it was AI. They analyzed it, said no, it's not, and so Arthur was like, "Oh crap!" And boy, was he depressed after that. I mean, he could have had Guinevere killed, but said, "All right, you can go live out your life in a convent." So that's what she did. Only to find out later that Arthur gets killed in a fight with his son he had with his sister. What? But again, he wasn't of sound mind. So it's not the same thing. So she can't really judge him for that either. She can't say, oh, yeah, I never did like your sister anyway. Yeah. So now, some people might think, shouldn't they have tried to talk this out? I mean, a lot of terrible things happened, but due to the actions of others, I mean, basically, Arthur is completely innocent from what his crazy dad did. And, Morgan should have understood that, and so but I just don't think even, like them going on the Dr. Phil show and, well, Morgan, you got to understand that your brother had nothing to do with what happened with your mama and his daddy. And then she's like, well, I can still stick Merlin in his cave, right? And freeze him for all eternity. Can I do that? I mean, it's his magic and stuff that made that happen. If he'd have left things well enough alone, then my mom and dad would have lived a long, good life or whatever, and he wouldn't have died on some shitty battlefield just so, Arthur's dad could come in and do his thing. So then, it's like Phil's like, well, I got to admit, you make a point there. So then, it's like Arthur's like, well, I mean, I've always been rather fond of Merlin. But so then, I don't know, they have to take it to court. Merlin's going to have to fork over some cash, for the wrongful death suit for his part in what happened, you know. Plus, it's also he was, an accessory to basically the sexual assault of Morgana's mother. Sure she consented, but she thought it was her husband. She didn't know it was, Uther. So, but it's just it's a terrible mess, and a lot of people probably wouldn't want to deal with any of it. But it ended the only way it could, I suppose. So, yeah, I don't think the Dr. Phil show could have done much for it. That's just too bad. But well, like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. All right, there you go. That's the images I will use. They'll be colored up and put into the cartoon, and keep an eye out. I'll show it, here, there, and everywhere. And I'll see how that works out. I guess, let me see here. Well, I'm going to want to look for, where did I? Oh, yeah, it's probably in the podcast folder. Oh yeah, here we go. This ought to wake. Open with the folder. Any day now. Now. All right. Should be able to find the little sucker. Here we go. So, oh wait, am I showing it? Yeah, I am. Go ahead. Turn off the camera. And so there's Arthur. There's the AI background that I started up. He's pulling the sword out. Oh, I drew it differently. Damn it. I'm going to have to fix that. And there was this King Arthur cartoon, so I based the stylings off of it. And then he pulls the sword, and oh no, it really hurts, and he gets a hernia, and it troubles him for the rest of his life. So here he is, he's a grown man, and there's Merlin in his workshop, and he's like trying to fix his hernia, but it doesn't quite work out. So it's so bad that the sex life with Guinevere, oh boy, it doesn't work out that great. And then here comes Lancelot, you know. And so that's how that. And then the next drawings will consist of Morgana Le Fay and drunken Arthur, and then finally Mordred and Arthur, and that'll be the story. I don't know if I bothered. Did I put the? No, that's just the thing. Okay, that's the AI art of. What the hell? I didn't even notice this. Is that like a jet flying crashing? Because it's got like, man, I don't know, but it's like a magical kingdom thing, you know. So I guess it works that way. Well, whatever. But that's some of the elements that'll be when it's all put together. Won't that be nice? I think so. So anyway, there we go. That's me drawing King Arthur, etc. And we'll get together again. I'm hoping to get a Nailsin news maybe tonight. I got to do the Pat's censored show. Well, I'll think of something. If not, well, then I guess this will be it. But I got to put together some other videos too. I got a Star Trek review I got to do. And I want to review these other movies. I've been watching movies, old movies from the 70s. And I got to do some of those. I've got the original Pelham 1, 2, 3. The Friends of Eddie Goyle. I watched that one. And then most recently, The Outfit with Robert Duvall. The Eddie Goyle one's Robert Mitchum. And got to do reviews of those. Switch it up a bit. Can't all be superheroes and stuff like that. So anyway, but in the meantime, I'll have my Thursday comics edition of the Absolute Superman review. I'll put that out shortly. So you can look for that. So again, thanks for all these silly characters. Soon to be a part of the AI the AI voice, whatever it is, of Gavin did not do the narrating of this story, but a reasonable facsimile thereof did. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully it'll turn out good and be a lot of fun. All right. Thanks for visiting again, and we'll do it again soon sometime. That's the wrong one. That's for later. You'll see that at the end of the video. Yeah. Jeez. Well, there's always got to be some mistake, you know. It wouldn't be a Nailsin show without it. No, it wouldn't.
That you look